to the president. So Vandana is right in that Canadians want to see the Prime Minister negotiate. We're getting a pretty good look at his negotiation skills, David, and they're not particularly overwhelming.
Boy, has it been a rude awakening for Canadians, because bankers are not known to be world-class negotiators. They love to play with other people's capital, but when it comes to creating value out of nothing, well, yeah, they fall way short. But you know what else bankers love? Complex, inefficient, and useless corporate structures. So Carney just created a new government position, the second most powerful in Canada. And who did he appoint to oversee this abomination? You won't believe it when I tell you, but let's say it's very concerning for our national security and not very elbows up. My name is Ali Denyo, and this is The Right Call. Like, share, subscribe, hype this video up. Any interaction on this channel helps push the truth out and maybe someday help break that CBC-induced coma that so many Canadians are under. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, because if you like the truth, you found the right place.
Understanding, Kate, and I don't know this for sure because even the government officials I was speaking with today, is that the money that goes to the development agency from the profits will be spent on the American side of the border, right? So, you know, it is for them. It is a straight. I mean, it may benefit Windsor if it increases traffic flows coming the other way, but very indirectly, very indirectly. It is unquestionably a concession to get what Canada was entitled to. But is it possible, as the mayor says, believes, and the Prime Minister says, that it doesn't really amount to much?
I really like this lady. She keeps making really good points. However, I got a couple issues with what she's about to say.
Just given the payback nature of infrastructure projects that cost this much.
Yeah, I think if that were the case, then there should be a higher degree of comfort from the Prime Minister in sharing the details about the deal. What do we care if we're offending Donald Trump if it's actually a smaller amount?
Because he might close it again, Case. You might blow it up.
There is an option here that's not just...
Freaking David Cochrane saying that Trump might blow it up. Again, you're really showing your bias right there. Geez, objective journalism. I know you hate Donald Trump. It shows. We all know it. I've seen it behind the scenes as well. But come on, dude. You're, again, riling up the liberal base.
Hoping and wishing and waiting. I know Brad's talking about, waiting till the midterms and seeing what happens. Why not weave in the Gordie Howe Bridge and the plan there to the broader negotiation and coming up with Fortress North America and coming up with a deal that benefits both parties? I think the government clearly wants to just try and wait it out and see what happens. But I thought
that hope was not a strategy, according to Carney. So waiting out the U.S. government, aka waiting for Trump to leave office, well, it's not a strategy, right?
Moment, they have caved to the president. So Vandana is right in that Canadians want to see the Prime Minister negotiate. We're getting a pretty good look at his negotiation skills.
And not only that, but he was sold to us as the best possible person to negotiate with the president. That's what he campaigned on. That's what he sold it to us. And it's been failure after failure. Lost the USMCA deal, lost the Gordie Howe Bridge deal. It's not looking good, and hopefully, with some narrative on CBC, people might realize it.
David, and they're not particularly overwhelming. We lost on DST.
And that's my issue. Lost on DST. That's the digital services tax, and she is flat wrong. Because the digital services tax was illegal to begin with. This is something the media will never tell you. We made it seem like, oh, the US, they're the ones who've contravened to the USMCA agreement first, and as such, Canada was just retaliating. That's flat out wrong. We actually are the first one to have broken the agreement. If you look here, Chapter 19 of USMCA, Digital Trade. And if you go down to Article 19.3, Customs Duties. No party shall impose custom duties, fees, or other charges on or in connection with the importation or exportation of digital products transmitted electronically between a person of one party and a person of another party. So when we started putting a tax, aka a levy, aka a fee, on American platforms operating within Canada, we were in contradiction to the USMCA. So no doubt that the US retaliated. Actually, Canada started this whole thing. It's just not the narrative you're ever sold. And sadly, the lie is being perpetuated on CBC. Color me surprised.
We're losing on the Gordie Howe Bridge. He promised Canadians that he was going to be the guy to get a deal. And if this is the litmus test for what a broader CUSMA negotiation looks like, I think there's going to be a lot of Canadians with buyer's remorse.
The problem is the time it takes for Canadians to develop buyer's remorse. Can you remember how long it took for Canada to turn on Justin Trudeau? It took years. I mean, a decade of just failure after failure and gaffe after gaffe for him, or for us, to finally wake up and be like, yeah, maybe he's not the right guy. Let's send him off to dance away with Katy Perry and live his teenage dream. And when even Condoleezza Rice, a establishment Democrat, says these things about your Prime Minister's weird approach, you know there's a deeper systemic issue at play.
So I've been saying to allies, stop saying we'll do it without the United States. Right? You may speak into existence exactly what you need to avoid. Because there are some people inside the American political system on both sides of the aisle who would be perfectly happy to withdraw from the world. And you don't want to help empower those people.
Let me push back slightly on this one, because you do have allies. Let's choose the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who has, the message he has given to the Europeans is, it's over. This is no longer your friend.
I understand that Mark Carney wanted maybe to make a bit of a splash, and that's all fine. But be careful what you say and who you empower inside the American system.
In other words, if you don't stop complaining, we will really give you something to complain about. Watch your mouth. Or else. So we should watch what we say, because even Tiff Macklem from the Bank of Canada had this to say, and this is his own admission.
The other thing is that the U.S. economy is strong. That is creating strong foreign demand for our exports. U.S. orders, they are starting to come back.
So part of the reason that Canada's economy is expected to maybe improve in the near future is because the U.S. economy is booming. This puts a cork in the constant narrative that we can fare better without the Americans. We don't need our brothers and sisters to the south. Well, apparently, the governor of the Bank of Canada thinks that the only reason our economy might come out of a recession is because the American economy is so strong. But he could not bring himself to admit that quite the way I just told you. No. Instead, he had this to say.
The Governing Council has maintained the policy interest rate at 2.25%. We have three key messages. First, after stalling over the past year, economic growth looks to have resumed in Canada. Second, inflation in Canada is poised to ease, provided global oil prices decline from elevated levels. And third, uncertainty remains high. The conflict in the Middle East has re-escalated in recent days, and trade discussions with the United States remain ongoing. Canada's GDP growth was flat over the past year as the economy was flat over the past year ongoing. Canada's GDP growth was flat over the past year as the economy adjusted to new tariffs, elevated uncertainty, and slower population growth. Overall, our growth outlook is similar to our April forecast.
So apparently it's everyone else's fault that our economy is flat, but not our fault. No, it's not our fault. Apparently some tension in the Middle East was just enough to shoot our economy in the foot. And that just goes to show how unreliable and unresilient our entire economic system is built on what, like a house of cards, basically? Well, that's 10 years of liberal government for you. So you go for it, Tiffy boy. You keep blaming the world, the Americans, Iran, Ukraine at one point. It's everyone else's fault but our own. Meanwhile, the little economic growth that we've even seen in this country has been limited to only one province. I'll let you take a guess at which province that might be. If you said anything other than Alberta, man, you have high hopes for the majority of the country. Alberta is responsible for nearly 80% of all new jobs in Canada. There were 2,677,000 people employed in Alberta as of last month, up 3% from last year, while total employment across Canada grew by only 0.5%. Alberta accounted for nearly 80% of all jobs created across Canada over the last year, despite being home to only 12% of the country's total population. Wow, Alberta is really putting the team on its back, as usual.
Dog, he put the team on his back.
This is incredibly troubling and will probably fire up the sovereignty movement even more, and I don't blame them. When you realize you are literally pulling the weight of 9 provinces and 3 territories on your own, what do you get from it? What's the point of being in this federation if you gain nothing? Actually, quite the opposite. All the other provinces, at every turn they can, block or hinder or put sticks in your wheels for all your economic projects, from pipelines to tanker bans to First Nation consultations and court appearances, whatever. And yes, there's a case to be made for the sovereignty, because when you look at this, it's like Canada is basically Alberta at this point, and the rest are just freeloaders. So Carney has been doing some really weird things with Canada. I've been saying this for a while, but he's treating Canada less so like the institution it is, and more so like a private equity deal. And it goes without saying, from manufacturing a majority through bribes, alleged bribes, in order to get floor crossers to come to his side, to scuffing question period more than any other prime minister in history, because accountability isn't in the playbook of a corporate raider, of course. But now he's outdone himself by creating a new government position that is unheard of in all world's governments. That of Chief Operating Officer, a title normally reserved for corporations. It's a position that is normally the second in command in a corporate structure, and oftentimes even wields more power, real world in the field of power, than that of the CEO himself. So the second most powerful position in Canada has historically always been that of Chief of Staff. He's the person who controls access to the Prime Minister. He's also the person that manages the day-to-day operations of the Prime Minister's office. This position is currently held by Marc-André Blanchard, who came from the somewhat para-private, para-public sector. He used to be the first vice president and chief of CDPQ worldwide. CDPQ is French for Caisse de dépôt et de placement du Québec. It's the government body that manages the Quebec pension plan. Quebec's equivalent to the Canadian pension plan, because some people don't know this, but Quebec has its own pension plan. We gotta do things very special here. Furthermore, it goes to show that Carney has a raging hard-on for anything banking world related or investment related, and that's the last thing we need, because let me tell you, the Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec has made questionable moves in the last few years, lost billions of dollars, ran massive budgets overrun for administrative costs and bonuses for the executive. Basically, it's just one big racket of let's fill our pockets while giving meager returns to the actual contributors, the actual benefactors of the system, Quebec taxpayer. But now Carney sideswiped him and made the second most powerful position in all of the country a brand new made-up position that has never been around before. But this is not the most concerning part of it all. What is concerning is that Mark Carney appointed an American named Maya Johnson, who is allegedly a longtime Democratic Party operative, as the chief operating officer of the Prime Minister's office. But that's not all. She's worked for Hilary Clinton's campaign in the past. This is an email where you see her in communication with the entire campaign staff, including Hilary Clinton herself. She's also allegedly connected to Michael Bloomberg and, the worst of them all, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. You know, that circle jerk of net zero fanatics and zealots that Mark Carney led and tried to grow their program around the world, which inadvertently fell apart because literally the private sector couldn't care less about net zero. It's not profitable, and it's just, economic suicide for most corporations. But she's not brand new in Mark Carney's environment, because she actually came out from the US to help during his campaign to become prime minister. Which again, we didn't know that at the time, but raises severe red flags. Almost as big of a red flag as the fact that it took her no time to rack up a violation of her ethics laws. Yeah, already, she's been fined for an ethics law violation. I swear, I can't make this stuff up. This girl is fresh into Canadian politics and is already violating her ethics laws. This is her receiving an administrative monetary penalty due to the fact that she failed to provide within 60 days of appointment, as part of the confidential report, all information that the commissioner considers necessary to ensure compliance with the act. She'll fit right in with the liberals, no doubt whatsoever. I mean, it's not like the Democrats in the US are already known for conflicts of interest or violations of sorts, right, Hillary?
I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices.
From the group of 30,000 emails returned to the State Department in 2014, 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received. 8 of those chains contained information that was top secret at the time they were sent. 36 of those chains contained secret information at the time, and 8 contained confidential information at the time.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
Well, great. I'm glad someone who's worked so closely with Hilary Clinton is now literally the second most powerful position in Canada and doesn't report back to Parliament for accountability whatsoever. So, in other words, a guy with an Irish passport just hired an American to run the Canadian government. What is going on in this country? And the Liberal Party of Canada loves to lecture us about rejecting American-style politics and foreign interference, yet here they are, straight up hiring an American Democrat strategist as chief operating officer in Canada. This is a post where they say, yet again, Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives are turning their backs on Ukraine. While they bring home far-right American politics to Canada, we will continue to stand with our allies. Elbows up, baby!
Despite record losses for Canada Post and government bailout for the Crown Corporation, management was given more than $30 million in performance pay last year.
She looks like surprised. I mean, it's like, where was it? There you go. Oh my God, what am I reporting on? Imagine if I just stared at the camera the same way. Sorry, I mean, guys, it's summertime right now. I need to have a bit of fun with this because the stuff we're talking about is just so ludicrous. It makes no sense. It's wild.
A Canada Post spokesperson told CTV News the money was part of an existing compensation program and comes from revenues, not the repayable government bridge financing. Ottawa recently approved a bailout of up to $673 million. The Crown Corporation reported a record $1.57 billion in losses last year.
Look, I don't care where the hell the money comes from, or whether it's a compensation package that had been approved already in the past. The organization you manage posted record losses requiring a taxpayer bailout to keep you afloat. So forget your bonus. Bonuses is for winners. You're a loser. This is why I have a bone to pick with bureaucrats and public sector workers. I really do. Because not only does it promote mediocrity, it rewards it. It's the embodiment, the real life embodiment of a participation trophy. Accomplish nothing, tap yourself on the back, and stuff your pockets with money that you didn't earn. You didn't create value for the country. You have one job. Run the corporation, Canada Post, efficiently enough so that you don't even have to turn a profit. Don't turn a profit. Just stop losing money. And before you come at me with, blah, 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 guess what? There's plenty of mailing and delivery services in this world that operate and make money. We're not even looking for that. Just break even. And that means, you're probably going to have to cut most of your staff and you're going to stop having to pay yourself bonuses for failing. It's just this leveling downwards, this lowest common denominator at all time in our government. Where do we promote excellency? When do we start expecting, desiring, demanding performance and the best for this country? I mean, working for the public sector right now is seen more as winning a lottery ticket. Congratulations, you have a pension for life, you're protected by unions. It's like people, once they get in, they've won already because they feel like they finally got their meal ticket paid for. It's the death of initiative, it's the death of ambition. But the mentality needs to be rewritten completely. Working for the public sector should be a privilege. It should be an honor. You're serving your nation. You're serving the people. You should be held to the highest of standards. And I'm not against, by the way, and this is going to be a little controversial or maybe even contradicting, I'm not against paying government workers even more. And you're going to look at me like, what the hell are you? Have you gone mad? Have you gone crazy? Maybe. I mean, I live in Canada, so eventually it gets the best of you. No, but I would say we cut by 50, 60, 70% the workforce, but we increase everyone's salary by like 50%. We still win as taxpayers because the cost is still going to go down. But now we only want the best in a position. We'll reward you. We'll pay you handsomely, but it becomes a privilege. It becomes, like I said, an honor to be in that position. And we want the best for the best. We will go and hire the best potential people. Because right now, our best workers are, either working in the private sector or, if they have the wits about themselves, one of the 42% of Canadians that are leaving this country because they're tired of being used and abused and spat on for being the only ones who actually create value. And these massive public sector cuts, yes, let's extend it to journalists as well.
Well, extreme heat, wildfires, torrential rains, powerful storms, Canadians have dealt with a lot in just the last few months. And as Morgan Black explains, not only is it taking an emotional toll on many, it's taking a financial one too.
From tornadoes to flood, Canadians are dealing with the consequences of more intense weather more often, and the rising costs of insuring their homes, cars, and belongings.
Our main recreation area was the worst that was hit.
Sarah Dano knows about it all firsthand.
It kind of just ruins everything. You're kind of...
Anyways, I'll spare you the reporting that just pulls emotional heartstrings in order to push a narrative that I'll show you in 2 seconds is patently false. The CBC is at it again, using real insurance pain of poor victims in order to push weather-related events as the reason why it's happening. They're just pushing their climate activist agenda. A flooded Edmonton basement becomes proof that a climate emergency does exist. And soaring insurance premiums can only be tied back to extreme weather patterns. CBC's own editor-in-chief openly declared back in 2021, and I quote, "They're prioritizing climate change journalism as the most pressing story of our time and reshaping coverage accordingly." Well, guess what? That's not neutral reporting. That's advocacy using taxpayer dollars. And there's no mention of what actually does cause the floods. See, overstressed infrastructure is probably the leading cause for that. See, we have a sewer system in most of Canada that was designed back when we had a smaller population and most people lived in single family dwellings. So let's say you have a street with a specific sewer system that can handle, let's say, I don't know, 100 residential homes. Now, all of a sudden in the area, you're building a bunch of condo buildings with hundreds of units, adding stress to the already limited sewer system. And you make sure not to improve the existing infrastructure because that would cost too much money, so let's not do that. So what do you think happens with all this extra waste, this extra water usage that is used and that is passing through the sewer system when there's a freaking rainstorm coming in? Well, it overflows because it's already at max capacity. It was not designed to handle so much use by so many residents, and then you overstress it with rain. This isn't a climate apocalypse so much as it's just poor infrastructure investment and planning. And you want proof? This is the total precipitation annual data for the last 25 years in Edmonton. This is for the period ending January 1st, 2026, so the entire year of 2025, basically. 482 millimeters. Seems like a lot, right? Well, it tracks with, past years. Actually, it's not even the largest or the highest. Back in 2004, there was 525 milliliters. And guess what? There wasn't crazy flooding back then. Why? Because the city had less people. There was less density of people, and as such, the infrastructure could handle the rainfall. I mean, it's not rocket science, boys. It's very simple. But another thing we didn't have back then? Climate emergencies! And a freaking narrative to ram down our throats. Now, in today's crazy liberal take of the day, we're going to go down south because our American brethrens are not immune to having some left-leaning lunacy on their hands.
Of course, the vast majority of pregnancies are in women, and I have absolutely no problem with using the word pregnant women. I use it myself.
Has a non-biological woman ever had a baby?
A transgender person can.
That's not a biological woman. Has a non-biological woman ever had a baby?
I would reiterate, we
it's
take
ridiculous.
care.
Well, you learn something new every day, folks. Apparently, not just women can get prego. Thank you very much. That just expanded my horizon. Well, if you've enjoyed today's report and would like to find a way to get involved with the channel, aside from liking, sharing, hyping, commenting, subbing, if you wanted to take it a step further and help out financially so that I can spend more time doing research and holding CBC accountable with facts that they just won't show you, well, I have a Patreon, $8 a month. It is also greatly appreciated. And if you'd rather just a one-time donation, well, I also have a PayPal link. It is my birthday coming up soon in 3 days, so wink, wink, cough, cough. Definitely not shilling for money due on my birthday. But I mean, you want to get me a little cake, some Nutella, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm a huge Nutella fiend. You'll get to discover that as you hang around here a little bit more. But regardless, I appreciate all the support. It's insane. Every time someone sends something on PayPal and I see the notification pop up, it blows my mind. I swear I am beyond words grateful for all the support. And regardless, if you haven't watched last episode, well, I break down a lot of USMCA, a lot of the Gordie Howe Bridge, and how Carney just got bamboozled, and also the stern words Trump had. Basically, why he likes Carney. He won't admit it, but there's a reason why he likes him. So click right here. You don't want to miss this. But for the time being, my name is Ellie Dango, and I'll see you next time.